We did
Is that
it.
your intro music?
That's my intro music. Okay. Hello. All right. My name is Matt Griffo. I am with Matt Bodett. And today we're going to go through who Matt Bodett is, what you do in the city, what you do in life in general, and about your background, and then what your goals would be physiologically speaking, and then looking at clinical data, what you can do as your options of thousands of options, what you could do to reach those physiological goals, and from there, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a visual artist.
Mhm.
I also teach art, and then I am the founder and director of the Center for Mad Culture.
Mm-hmm. And then go through the visual artist part first. Then.
My bachelor's degree was in printmaking,
Mm-hmm.
so that was the kind of underpinning for a lot of it. And then I got my master's degree in drawing and painting.
Okay. And then what do you profess?
I profess.
You're teaching stuff.
I teach it. It's a mixture. I started out teaching printmaking mostly, and then recently have shifted more into drawing painting, just by nature of necessity.
Printmaking would be on the like a rolling type of, or what type of printmaking?
It was a mixture.
Oh.
So we would teach everything from like relief, wood carving, wood cutting, linoleum block, kind of relief printing, screen printing,
Mm-hmm.
etching. So working on like copper plates and doing drawings that way. Lithography, monotype, kind of a range,
Okay.
pretty broad under like a overview.
Yeah. And then the third, so visual arts teaching, and what's the
Center for Mad Culture.
Yeah.
I opened that one. It's about 3 years now.
Oh, okay.
Just a little over 3 years. And the Center for Mad Culture's focus is to shift the dialogue that we have about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
To move it away from being centered on a medical fix. So within the construct of the language of mental health and mental illness assumes there's a problem that has to be repaired. And we're looking at madness as the body's capacity to just be different.
Mm-hmm.
And that people will have different experiences, and that those different experiences are just part of the human sort of continuum.
Yeah.
And that we need to work with people
Mm-hmm.
through those things. And that oftentimes the stigma, the difficulties of mental health are built up because we have a society that does not accept and work with people without trying to fit them into a certain box.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they don't fit in that box,
Yeah.
and they are running into a system that tells them how horrible they are for not fitting into that box and not trying enough and not pulling on their bootstraps and doing all the things,
Right.
the stigma becomes their burden as opposed to the societal burden to remedy this social situation, as opposed to, just having an individual who has different experiences.
Yeah.
And so the Center for Med Culture is in that camp where we say people have different experiences. They can have auditory hallucinations. In fact, studies have shown that most people in the world have auditory hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what society you're in, on whether or not they're negative and impact your daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And so Scandinavian countries, for example, have voice hearing that just is a part of their daily life, and they don't complain about it because it isn't a negative thing. And so we kind of look at it as a broad human experience. And then specifically, we're also going at it in a different angle because so many people talk about the mental health stuff as a medical thing, a therapeutic thing, but we're looking at madness as a cultural identity.
Can you go? People look at as a medical thing. What do you mean?
So we have to diagnose everything.
Okay.
You have a diagnostic category, and that breaks down into fixes or things that you need to do in order to remedy
Let me give you an example. Whereas somebody may say, oh, okay, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety, and then next year they go, actually, I'm diagnosed with OCD. Actually, now I'm diagnosed with OCD plus autism plus this. Actually, the other person said I don't have autism. Now I have this. Is that the type of thing you mean?
Yeah, and that medicalizing, we put so much pressure on the idea of identifying with your diagnosis. And people, there's a lot of people who do get relief.
Oh,
they
as
feel
in,
like they're seen by getting a diagnosis.
okay, as in like I am diagnosed with, not me, but I, as an example, I'm a person diagnosed with depression. Therefore, I have a looking glass self that would say I am supposed to be sad all the time. Maybe, is
Yeah,
that right?
and it sort of the one thing that it can do positively is validate that I feel sad all the time.
Mm.
Right. Okay, so there's a thing that's wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
If that's wrong with me, then it can be fixed. Is the assumption. The catch to it is the depression. We'll use depression as the example.
Mm-hmm.
But the depression might not be solely the person's responsibility. It might be housing insecurities, job insecurities, global crises, economic warfare.
That's true.
There's so much going on in the world, and to put the onus of all of this pressure onto individuals relieves too much from the societal structure that should bear more responsibility for at least caring for people through the crises that they create.
Yeah.
And that's like a really generalized overview of it. So what we're more interested in is coming to it as madness is a cultural identity.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at cultural identities, we often think of groups who kind of gather around common interests, common foods, music, language,
Mm-hmm.
religions, all of this.
Yeah.
And the great thing about thinking of cultural groups is that every cultural group brings something to the table, just by nature of existing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have Taco Bell because Americans and Mexicans
Oh, yeah.
somehow met in the middle, and we have Tex-Mex.
That's a good example of that. Yeah.
And it's like a stupid example, but that's what happens when cultures meet. We have these really productive moments
Mm-hmm.
where things blossom and change, and we get a type of growth that occurs when that happens.
Right.
When things get too homogenous is when there becomes problems, and then we start to diagnose those problems.
Right. Right.
Because we assume that everything has to be identical.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start to think of madness as its own cultural thing, it does literally have its own languages.
Mm-hmm.
We may not always know what those languages mean. We may not be able to translate them into books. We have...
When you say languages, what do you mean by that? If you do an example.
I mean, you can think of glossolalia, the sort of nonsense. The psychiatric term for it would be word salad.
Okay.
Like people who just talk nonsensically.
Okay.
Whether it is... So word salad would be more like stream of conscious.
Yeah.
You're using actual linguistic terms, but it has no anchor.
Right.
There's no meaning behind it. Well, the psychiatric side says there's no meaning behind it. There is.
There's definitely meaning behind it.
There's always meaning. Versus other things like some people will just have completely made up languages that they utilize, and there's quite literally no way to translate said language because there's no...
Right.
It doesn't have a linguistic boundary.
Right.
So there are famous people from history who've done this kind of stuff. One of the coolest is Hildegard of Bingen, I want to say 16th century
The nun?
nun.
Oh yeah, I know this one. And then they just
she made up a Latin language.
You said they just translated it, right?
I have not seen that they translated it.
They did.
Ah,
Yeah, they used AI to translate it.
I'm curious how the accuracy of what AI is doing.
So what was analyzed was that it was multiple languages. She was clearly very good at multiple languages. not just Latin,
Mm-hmm.
but multiple dead languages. And so that's why they couldn't translate it for so long. But that she was clearly very good at it, and she was switching between them quite quickly. And essentially, it's basically just saying like that something about demons and
I mean, that's her thing anyway.
something about demons and stuff. And but it showed that it sounded as if she was going through a schizophrenic episode,
Mm-hmm.
and that she was extremely intelligent.
Oh, she was.
Like both things, like that she was having a break,
Mm-hmm.
and also extremely well versed in language. And this is that, and there you go. She was able to kind of make her meld of all these different languages, which nobody could translate it until a
Until just
robot
recent. Yeah.
who is versed in all these languages, which is wild.
That's wild. Do you know Asemic poetry or language?
No.
Asemic, so A being the prefix of like nothing. So it's a non-language.
Okay.
So it'd be Asemic poetry, for example, is somebody that scribbles on a page. So it looks like it should maybe be words, but it's just scribbles.
Oh, okay.
And people do this and have whole books of stuff. And again, it's sort of like how far can we push a linguistic boundary
Yeah.
to still communicate?
Right.
It borders on being visual art, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But it just looks formatted
Yeah.
on a page like it should maybe be language.
I'm gonna look that up.
It's a pretty awesome like subcategory of like experimental poetic
That's cool.
kind of stuff.
So that's Center of Mad Culture. Are you going to expand on that anymore?
No, not necessarily more, other than to just say, the cultural element of it
Mm-hmm.
means that we basically can forego the stigma and say, as a culture, we're bringing a lot to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, we have actually, and what can be documented across time, is that madness has been a massive contributor to the growth of culture, like writ large, not just like mad culture, but like all of human culture.
Yeah,
has been impacted for positive because mad people exist and have contributed because of their madness.
Yeah, I don't think of a lot of boring people as making great art. I don't.
Yeah,
I just don't. It's funny. But yeah, that makes total sense that artists would have a proclivity toward some type of madness.
And that's there's a slightly different discussion there around art and madness. But even just the mad folks who are in the sciences, who are in economics, who are doing business. It takes mad people to do a lot of things that other people have reservations around.
Right.
So it's not, I wouldn't hone it just to art. Even though at the Center for Mad Culture, we focus a lot more on art just because that's my own background.
Right.
I can curate exhibitions. I can, we do poetry workshops and readings and film screenings and things like that. So we tend more towards that side of the cultural element.
And if you want to check out the Center for Mad Culture online, where could they go to?
Online, we are madculture.org.
There you go. And I'll put it in the description as well. And so visual artist, teacher, professor, and Center of Mad Culture. What's your position there?
I'm founder, director.
Okay, founder and director. And then from there, what symptoms did you have? Like, from what symptoms you have, I guess, and when did they start? And like, how did you connect with that? As you know, for this whole mad culture and all these other parts, they interconnect with all of that. And so, how does that for you? Yeah, when did that start? What were the symptoms, and what are they now? What was that journey?
Yeah, the journey changes often.
Yeah.
My own madness teaches me a lot every day, and so I think the growth of it is, what's without getting too into the weeds around things, but time is very different for me. And so I feel like there's a lot of elements of where I'm growing and learning that have changed the past and altered my own understandings across all of this. So I'll give it in a semi-linear fashion.
Okay.
In that I was in my early 20s when I first began noticing differences.
Okay.
I was the big moment for sure was I was working in it was a special collections and archives at a school, and I was in a little room. I was doing some computer coding, like putting in a session report, like to upload a new collection we got into like an online database or something weird.
Okay.
And the room was very literally just moving around me.
Oh.
And I'm realizing that
While you're awake.
while I'm totally full awake.
Okay.
I'm working on a computer and things are moving in the room.
Yeah.
And I was like, this does not seem real. There's something else. Something's going on. As a college student, it was odd. But we also had some resources because we're on campus. So I ran out to my boss and I was like, I need to go to the health center.
And you're about 22?
I was 20. Yeah, about 22, 21, 22.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. And he looked at me and was like, yeah, you really do. Hey, something about it. He could see me. He could tell something was really off.
This would be about 2002.
Yeah. Seems right.
Math.
Time, dates.
Right.
Yeah, that had to have been. Because I wasn't diagnosed before 9/11.
Oh.
Like as a marker of time.
Wow. Yeah.
I know I was well
Yeah.
during that. And then, yeah, so probably like 2002. So yeah, I ran over to the health center. I wasn't sure what I was going to say to him. So I did like laps around the building trying to figure out like, do I really want to go in? There was some fear and reservation around it. But I went in. The poor young woman at the desk, I was like, what can we do? And I was like, I need to see someone now. She's like, well, we have a psychiatrist comes in. It was like once a week. And he's already been here. Like he'll come in next Friday, but we might not be able to get you in because we got things booked, and like I could get you a schedule in like a couple weeks. And I just full on broke down right there. And she, you could just tell, like she's like, okay, I'm gonna go find somebody. Great, cool. So I went and found somebody. Long story short, and in that short span of time, the initial diagnosis was bipolar disorder. The quick run of it was that I responded very well to the medication at first. I wouldn't even tell you what it was that I was on, but I responded really well to the point of the initial work situation was at the end of a semester in spring. Through summer, I responded well, and the person on staff was like, "You responded so well, I think we could probably take you off."
Oh.
And drop me off the medication cold. And I crashed.
Oh.
Hard. Come to find out, that's fairly common. If anybody goes off psychiatric drugs that quickly, you're going to crash and you're going to withdraw.
And what would that entail?
All my symptoms come back 10 times worse.
Oh.
Like it
10 times?
It was intensely worse. As well as
and is that normal? Sorry, is that normal for other people that it would be like that much worse?
Oh yeah. If you
Even double would be really bad.
so you have to imagine, well, maybe 10 might be an exaggeration for some folks, but it's going to be intensely worse coming
Yes.
off.
Anything intensely worse would be bad from things that you would go to a doctor. Most people aren't going to go to a doctor in general.
If you go and then it get worse.
And yeah, that's really bad. Okay, continue.
So then I was hospitalized. Previously hadn't gone into a psychiatric institution or hospital. It was all just kind of done in like health centers.
This is a few months later.
So by the end of summer, I'm crashing hard. So I go back to my family in another city, and that's when I'm hospitalized for the first time.
Did you tell them about it?
They knew the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My family had come when I had first crashed after work and all the things going on. My family responded really quickly and came and just like,
Oh,
are you okay?
Nice.
Yeah, they were supportive through that.
Wow.
So then when I crashed really hard, they're like, move back with us. We have hospitals.
Yeah.
Where you're at, you're not going to get anything.
You mean in Chicago we have hospitals?
No, sorry, this was in Idaho.
Okay. But what do you mean when you say we have hospitals?
So the town I was in was a really rural, small town, college town.
Uh-huh.
They had a hospital, but I mean...
okay.
You know how it is. Like, it's small city.
Right.
You're not going to get great care in anything, let alone psychiatric.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing. So that was one. That was I was on the east side of the state for that, and then Boise, where my family was. After I crashed really hard, moved back to Boise. Boise's population, it would have been somewhere around 250,000 people.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's decent size, and they had hospitals with psychiatric.
Yeah.
But there, even that was there were really only 2 psychiatric facilities in the city, I think, and they were largely drug related. So it'd be anybody coming off of hard drugs, meth.
Oh,
that's like drug rehab kind of place.
Drug addicts.
Yeah. So their main sort of clientele was a rehab facility.
Right.
That happened to have a psychiatric.
Yeah.
So my time in there was horrible because they didn't actually know how to work with somebody. So by this point, my diagnosis had then changed to schizoaffective disorder.
And had you at that point, before you even had any symptoms at all, did you have any drugs at all?
No.
Not even alcohol or anything?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Same. I also I never touched anything.
And I grew up in a highly conservative religion, so it was all about I was pretty much in line. And the hard part too was again, you get while I was at the university, it was a religious university, and they were telling me things like, if you just repent, you'll get better. I'm like, you don't even understand. I'm pretty straight-laced.
Right.
I'm really not doing anything that I need to be
right
in trouble for.
I used to get that a lot. People would be like, you have to get off of whatever it is. I'm like, I'm on 0 things. There's nothing. 0.
I'm really doing nothing.
Yeah. It's really frustrating.
And it was very frustrating.
So then you get schizoaffective disorder.
Schizoaffective disorder.
What year is this now?
So we're in 2003.
Okay.
I'm in and out of hospitals pretty regularly, but that first major time, and I'm in, it was things like they did not know how to work with somebody who was actively sort of schizophrenic.
When you say in and out of hospitals, can you expand on what that would mean? What does that look like?
So anytime you go into a psychiatric hospital, the semi-standard protocol is you're in because your medications weren't working.
Mm-hmm.
So they tend to just drop you off your medication, wipe your system, and put you on a new regimen.
Oh.
And they try to do it fairly quickly. That's the whole point of this hospital is we're gonna gut you, and rebuild you and send you back out.
Ooh, okay.
And it's supposed to be a safe environment to be able to do that.
Right.
And they're going to monitor it at some level. They'll monitor. And so that tended to be the standard for me as well. As I'd go in, they would dump me, they would try out some new medicines and send me back out.
Right.
And then 6 months later, I'd be right back in.
Mm.
Because there's like a time frame in which the medications do work,
Mm-hmm.
and then they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes there's a lot of reasons.
Is that for a lot of people, or
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The benefits stop, and the negatives kick in, and so you start to get massive liver damage. And depending on the generation of drug, you'll get different types of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So I was put on drugs. I mean, right off the bat, I was on medications, and they're big cocktails, right? Like 7 or 8 medications.
Oh.
Because you have to take the psychotropic medicine, and you have to take the depression medicine, and then you have to take the medicine that counteracts the side effects of the one, but then the other one that counteracts the side effects of the other,
And
but then one that amplifies the thing.
Is this covered by insurance, or what is?
I mean, it would depend on the insurance, but yes, at some level, there would be copays and things. And I think a lot of folks, eventually I even was on disability,
Uh-huh.
and so I was on Medicaid, Medicare, and like that covered it.
Okay.
We can talk about the economics of madness another time.
That's so intense.
I feel like there's a
that's a whole thing.
there's a whole thing behind that.
Yeah.
But yeah, even in hospital, they wouldn't know how to deal with me, and so I ended up a lot of times in isolation rooms.
They wouldn't know how to deal with you because
I'm schizophrenic, and they're only dealing with drug overdose.
Does that mean that you're behaving erratically, or?
Yeah, I'm hearing things. I'm too afraid to go out in the halls, and they want me to be in group.
Oh.
And I'm paranoid.
Right.
And so they are literally dragging me down the hall to go to a group session.
Right.
Because I don't want to. Because I'm so paranoid about people. So rather than dealing with me and my paranoia and working with it,
just lock you up.
They're just going to drag me into a room and lock me up and force me into a place. And this is where a lot of folks, one term that gets tossed around a lot is psychiatric survivor.
Yeah.
And it comes from like movements in the 60s, 70s of people as the asylum systems were closing. They're getting dumped out on the streets, and they consider themselves psychiatric survivors. So a lot of survivors will talk about these kinds of things where people who are in and out of hospitals a lot get really good at just telling the doctors what they want to hear.
Right. This is part of why I never told doctors about this.
And that's why most people don't, right? You're going to get dragged down the hall and thrown into an isolation room. You're going to get all this like really shitty stuff.
I grew up in a hospital. I understood how doctors talked, and I was like, I would tell my friends. They would think I was joking, but or that I was insane. But I would definitely not tell a doctor. For me personally, as a teenager, because what you just said harkened back to my memory of me thinking about that. Me thinking, should I mention this to the doctor? And no, I didn't. Just because, even though it was intense, just because I was like terrified of the potential, what may happen. That's really interesting. Sorry, go on.
And it will. I was naive. I didn't know any better. I am assuming the medical complex is here to help me.
Yeah.
Why am I not telling them? And I learned real quick. Don't tell them. And they would hold a lot of things over your head around, like if you don't take your medication, we're gonna put you back in isolation. If you don't do this, we're gonna do this. It's always a threat.
Now you say, don't tell them. Then you're gonna there's other people on the other side of the fence who are gonna say, make sure to always take your meds and this and this. I think both are valid. What would you say to that other type of person who would say you need to tell them and you have to take the meds to keep you being able to work? Or what would you say to that type of person?
Well, okay, so I think this matches the sort of the trajectory of things
Okay.
in the storyline.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in and out of hospitals.
Yes.
I'm at the point of the medications are so bad. I cannot. I'm a vegetable.
Oh.
I cannot function. To the point of I can't even draw. And that's the thing that is the core of me.
Shaky type of?
Just blank.
Oh.
Cannot comprehend the ability. And I'm like barely able to hold attention long enough to do stuff. Most early psychiatric drugs are sedatives. They're just glorified sedatives.
And what year is this?
2003, 4, 5.
Okay.
In that same span.
Yeah.
So the in and out, and then all of a sudden, side effects, massive side effects started kicking in. The one that is, I'll give two parts to this. The first part is I have been off medication for at least 15 years.
You're not on medication right now? Okay.
And I still live with side effects.
From the medication
that I took.
Oh.
And it is the one that has lasted is tardive dyskinesia.
Okay.
Which is twitches.
Yeah.
Like Parkinson's, like at its worst, it's like full on shaking. Biting. For me it was I could not stop eating my own tongue. Like just chewing on it.
May I add a note here?
Yeah.
So part of what he would be experiencing, and anybody who's be experiencing that, is it damages the basal ganglia. Basal ganglia is a lot of antipsychotics damage a part of the brain that handles motor coordination. That's why people, if they're on the antipsychotic, pretty much, I think it's every antipsychotic. Don't quote me on that, but it's at least most antipsychotics. If they're on it for 7 or more years, or even for some 4 or more years, what can happen is they'll start to experience usually tics, what are considered tics. So that could be facial twitches, it could be hand movement, maybe a tremor. Potentially you'll see that in people with multiple sclerosis, you'll see that in people with Parkinson's. Why is that? It's because they're having issues within their basal ganglia in part. There's a lot of things at play there. That's what would be happening in part within those medications.
And that's the stuff that I live with still. Whatever damage it did appears to be permanent.
And I'll also add that almost all antipsychotics over time reduce gray matter, and it becomes more significant the longer that person is on. Gray matter would be the part of the brain that helps the neurons fire. So that sucks. So
it does, yeah. So I still have, like, you may see it, facial tics. I think I can hide a lot of things otherwise, but that's just one of the things.
The movement ones are hard.
Yeah.
Because it's involuntary.
Yeah. So yeah, that all happened. You had a question. I was like, oh, we're going into that.
It was about people who are on the side of the fence of saying, tell your doctors all the things.
Oh, yeah.
And
then, so
be on the meds no matter what.
That's
that other viewpoint, which I do. I don't. It's everybody's unique journey, and so to me, I'm not against whatever somebody wants to do for themselves. These drugs exist for reasons. Part of them are financial institutions, but also part of them is that they do help people to stabilize and be able to have a job, and I think that is really important. And so it's a question within the individual on how they want to proceed based on their own symptoms and how intense is it for them.
And that's the thing. I always come back to informed consent. Like, just be honest about what the drug does.
Yeah. Oh, yes. They don't.
And then let it. That's the part of. It's only effective really for 2 weeks, which is great for crisis intervention.
Right.
It's great for getting people out of the most extreme moment and then work with them through the remainder of it. That's wonderful.
Right.
Where it starts to become dangerous and destructive, that's what they're not talking about.
Right.
So
They don't talk about that. I know I have so many people I talk to that they'll find out later because they get whatever side effects it is, and then they look it up on their own and they present it to their doctor, and their doctor says something around the lines of,
yeah,
"Well, I didn't want to scare you away from it,"
yeah.
and they're like, "Well, I didn't know that." Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I did have one doctor who was kind enough to at least tell me you need to choose. You either need to take the medicine or not take the medicine. If you don't take the medicine, you're going to live with extreme schizophrenia. If you do take the medicine, you're going to possibly die of liver damage.
Mm-hmm. That's a good.
I was
That's
like,
at least you got that.
like, thanks.
Which one do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. So at a certain point, I was so far into it. The tardive dyskinesia was in full blow. Couldn't really make art.
Can you say? Can you give the definition of dyskinesia?
No. I don't know the actual full definition of it.
Okay. Dyskinesia is a movement disorder characterized by involuntary, erratic, and uncontrolled muscle movements such as writhing, fidgeting, or head bobbing. It is most commonly caused by long-term levodopa use in Parkinson's disease or dopamine blocking medications. Treatments include medication adjustments and blah, blah, blah. Okay.
And I've just in the last, I think it has gotten so bad that I have just started seeing advertisements for medication to help your tardive dyskinesia.
Okay.
And so they're now like, you want me to trust that you have now a medicine that's going to help me with the thing that damaged me to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of trust issues here.
And as I'm just gonna say this real quick, is that this whole process that we're doing and that I did for myself and that other people are doing is they're taking the biomechanics, they're giving themselves the building blocks so that their body can heal or remove the toxins, or their microglia, the astrocytes, the cleanup crew, can do their job properly to heal the brain and whatever other elements of the body to balance. And those synthetics aren't going to do that. That's not how they work. They're masking specific things. They're blocking. And there's every single, you have a green tea. That green tea is going to work in thousands of different ways in the body. You block one thing, thousands of other processes in the body are affected, and you take that over thousands of days. Oh, it's not good. So anyway, that's at a core level where for what you're going to look at for the clinical data is how does a person heal themselves from their core. So, but go on.
And I mean, this comes back to why the medication question. That some people should just do it. And for me, it reached a point of I'm not living anymore. I don't feel either I'm going to end this or I need a different way out. And it was very clear by that time. We're up to like 2007. That I wasn't going to get answers in the system that I've been just like regurgitated through. It was very clear that they actually didn't know what was going on. And every time I'd be like, well, now I'm chewing my tongue. Okay, here's another medicine. Let's try this. Like, yeah. I'm not here to try things anymore. So what I ended up doing, and I don't necessarily recommend this, is I knew that the situation I was in, everybody needed me to be on medicine. A schizophrenic off medication is the scariest thing to most people.
Okay,
and
yeah.
So everybody was, you have to take your medicine. And I was very much, this is killing me. I cannot take my medicine.
Right.
So I decided at one point I was hospitalized, and I just said, they're going to dump me off the medicine. They're going to try to clean my system a little bit and put me on something new. And I'm just going to stop taking the new stuff. And I'm going to go off.
Yeah.
But I have to pretend like I'm still taking this.
And
because everybody around me wants me to be taking these medicines.
What year is this?
2007.
Okay.
And so I did it. And it was, I would say, the withdrawals, it hit. It was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. It took...
Can you expand on what those withdrawals would be like?
I remember back now. Just really, really heightened anxiety.
Muscle cramping?
I don't recall muscle cramping.
Mm-hmm.
Exhaustion beyond belief.
Mm-hmm.
Fogginess. Just pain.
Pain.
Yeah, my body would just ache. Maybe
That's it. That's it.
This is the.
That's the.
But I wouldn't have thought of it as
It
like
can
a
feel
muscle.
like it can feel like a throbbing in some ways, or like, yeah, it can either like a heavy throbbing, or it can feel like an ache is a good way to say it, but like everything hurts, like you move and it hurts. That would be the muscle. I mean, it's multiple tissues, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of that, and
brain fog, I would think.
it was that got worse. And I want to say it wasn't for 3 or 4 months until I started feeling like I was a little bit clearer.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I think it's easing off. Whatever is starting to flush out of my system.
Yeah, it takes time.
More. I don't think it was until another 4 or 5 years where I had a moment. I wouldn't be able to tell you what the date was, but I recall having the moment of, wait, do I feel okay now? This is weird. And it had been a substantial 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
To where I was like, I think it's gone.
What the side effects of
Yeah,
the medications?
or just the medications in general.
Yeah.
I think whatever it was lasted in my body, like at least that long. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And for some reason,
that's what you
4 or
got to go
5
off.
year mark or something.
Mm-hmm.
I finally got like clarity
Yeah.
in my own mind. The fog actually started lifting at that point. And so it was a moment for me of realizing that takes a long time to really get through. And I wouldn't have known. So then during that time, what I began doing in order to appear like I was on medication was taking like a really critical stock around if I'm on medicine. The theory is if I'm on medicine, I won't have my worst symptoms. So I know what my worst symptoms...
Are you in Chicago now at this point?
No.
No.
I didn't come to Chicago till 2013.
Okay.
So still in Boise. And I knew what my worst symptoms were. And I was like, okay, the symptoms they sort of graduate. So I know I start with like a low-level anxiety. That moves to a bigger anxiety, and then paranoia. And from paranoia, hallucinations and other things like ramp up. And so I could sort of mentally chart that, and I could just say, all right, so then where do I feel anxiety? Where in my body do I locate the anxiety? Because if that's my lowest symptom, if I can prevent that, I stop the sort of trajectory.
Yep.
And I can at least maintain at that level.
Right.
It wouldn't be, I feel like at this point, meditation was not part of my life. But at this point in my life, I see it now in line with like deep meditation. Practices that like do that full body recognition. And at a certain level, I unknowingly was kind of participating in that, where I could locate the anxiety, and I knew as soon as I could feel it at its sort of instigating moment, I knew what I needed to do to stop it from growing, and I could maintain. So for all intents and purposes, it looked like I was on medication.
Impressive.
And I carried that out. So the answer, going all the way back to your question around what about people who say you need to be on medication to do these things? The answer is no, I don't.
For you personally, yeah.
And I know other folks who don't. But again, it's to each their own.
Right.
And we need to be able to say, as much as we need to be able to say it's okay to take medication, we need to be able to say it's okay not to take medication.
Right.
That's the catch for me, is that so often everybody's so much, you have to, you have to, you have to.
Yes.
And when you say it's okay not to, they say, well, don't glorify that.
Right. Yeah,
You're glorifying the medicine.
everyone's unique.
You're over glorifying.
Right.
You don't tell me not to do it on this side of the story.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not like hardcore anti-drug use for medication, but also we have to understand that for some people there are ways without it that can function and can work. It starts to actually integrate hallucination into my life in a positive manner. I can actually integrate all of these elements, which is where the madness story comes in. We move away from a medical model, and we move into something that actually integrates it wholly, and it becomes a positive factor, even if it's difficult, even if there's some things around it. At least it is something that I can live with and have a very happy and productive life, productive on my terms.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And then again, are we ending that story there? Is it 2007 and then you did that, or is there more past that?
There's always more.
Is there? I'm interested.
So then it wasn't until, we'll fast forward a little bit because it gets sort of boring because it's just like me pretending.
Sure.
In 2013, I moved to Chicago, and up to that point, I had never.
Is that why on your painting says always pretend? Or there's a drawing. It says always pretend on a.
There's going to be a lot of the writing is very self-referential.
Okay.
So there'll be yeah.
Okay, sorry, continue.
2013, I moved to Chicago, partially to take my sort of art practice more seriously. I wasn't going to go anywhere with it fully in Boise.
Right.
I didn't feel like that for me that growth was going to occur there. So I came to Chicago and ended up in the disability circle. So we have like the disability activists who are in Chicago, world-renowned people. And you wouldn't know this. It's this part of Chicago that people really don't understand. We have some of the most active and incredible disability activists in the world. This incredible group of folks. And I had been doing some art installation and things and got recommended for an award, but didn't get it. But through that, the people who did the award were like, we also have this like residency for folks with disability. Would you be interested in that? I was like, I mean, as an artist, yeah. Just say yes to everything. But the other side of it was, I'm not sure if it's for me, because I don't know that. I get it that at the time I was still talking mental illness was my language. It's like, I don't know if that's like fully disability. Like, I feel like the disability activists are doing like access. They need ramps. They need interpreters. They need space. I don't know if I need that. I don't know if I want to take this. And they're like, no, do it. Talk to this person. So I ended up meeting the director of that program, and she's like, oh no, you're disabled.
Yeah.
In a totally casual and really profound way. Was very accepting about it, and was like, it's nothing bad.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's also, they use the medical and social model language.
Yeah.
Around disability only means you're disabled by the society that cannot integrate you.
Yeah.
Your disability only exists in confrontation with something that will not help it.
Right.
And so this residency moment, I was making art and doing some performance work. And it was that first really large push for me to start thinking about disability language.
Yeah.
And reimagining what I'm thinking of in mental health terms. And then by the end of this, so we're up to like 2017, somebody's coming through Chicago and was reading a paper at a little anarchist bookstore in Pilsen.
Okay.
And it was something about, I'll forget the name of the paper, but it was something about radical mental health. somebody passed it along to me and was like, hey, you might be interested in this. Sure, I'll go. And it blew my mind. And that introduced to me the fact that there was radical movements from the 60s at the closures of the sort of like the asylum system.
Oh, yeah.
And moving forward. And they were very, very active in reclaiming madness as terminology, much like we would use the word queer.
Oh, yeah.
Now, right? It's a reclamation of a term that was derogatory at one point, but now it has this sort of political, social, philosophical
Yeah, because
power.
it used to be used as like a, are you mad?
Mm-hmm.
It was not good to say that, really.
Yeah. And so it's this reclamation of that term in order to sort of coalesce under a unifying phrase, an identity of some sort.
Yeah.
But then to sort of expand from there individually.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it introduced in 2017. I was like, what? This thing exists? Madness? I was still using schizophrenia language. My diagnosis.
Oh, yeah.
It was very important because that's what I was making work about.
Right.
And so I had talked about it a lot in those terms. And then 2017, I hear this. I start sort of integrating madness into the language, but then by the 2020 lockdown, we're in COVID lockdown.
Oh.
Everybody's siloed in their houses. And I was like, oh, I'm teaching still, luckily.
Yeah.
So I get a paycheck. I'm not spending money on anything. So I just started buying books. And I amassed sort of a reading library of my own.
Yeah.
And it was all mad studies. Anything I could get my hands on. And so that's when I really leaned in and said, I'm fully on board with madness as the terminology I want to use through this trajectory.
Oh.
And so what it offered me is a place that existed without shame and stigma that mental health very often carries with it.
Yes.
The shame specifically became important because I also learned through all of this time in other long stories, I learned that I don't actually have memories of my childhood.
Yeah.
And it stems from some serious traumas.
Yeah.
And I did not understand shame that I had around that until I started recalling memories.
Oh.
And having to come to terms with these really graphic memories that were not okay.
Yeah.
And then realizing that I was carrying the shame of that and mental health and the assumption that my mental health was my problem. It was my thing to deal with. My body had shut down and done this thing to me. And I began to realize that, no, for me, the traumas induced the necessity for my body to shut down and do these things. That wasn't me. It was imposed upon me. And so having to undo a lot of these layers became really important. And I did not feel like medication would ever undo that. It can't. Medication cannot undo trauma.
Right.
And so the mad language became really important because madness became a place where I could accept it without feeling like I was pressured into taking something or forced into isolation rooms or whatever it is.
Right.
So that's the quick run.
Yeah.
Of span of time.
Wow. Thank you for that journey. That's a very intense, like the whole ride. You went through a lot.
There's been a lot of others. There's other really intense stories of my first hospitalization here in Chicago. I was also, it was a rough one. I was assaulted by security guards
In the
hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, I apparently wanted to leave and go to the park for a walk. And their story is that I took a swing at them, but in my entire life, I've never been violent and never swung at anybody.
Yeah, I can't imagine you doing that.
So their story is that I took a swing at them.
Yeah.
I completely disagree with that.
Right.
Though I don't have as clear of a recollection. I'm like doped up on their drugs and
Sure.
But then I ended up leaving that situation with a black eye. They had to x-ray my shoulder.
Wow.
thinking it might have been broken. Um, it was bad. They like choked me out, and I'm like vomiting because I can't breathe.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people who work at those places are in and of themselves kind of not the healthiest people, and usually in physical, and that's part of why they have that job is because they are comfortable being physical with people and moving them.
hmm
Uh,
But they also don't know how to work with people in extreme states.
that's also yeah, right,
They don't know how to de-escalate somebody in
right,
this sort of moment,
yeah.
which is different than de-escalating somebody who's just aggressive and violent, maybe.
An example when we were on the train is I think an example of a de-escalation. There's a guy who um, there was a guy who was on the train, and he had there's number one. We got on the train, and again with the Chicago train. There's a guy sleeping, who's
There were like 3 people sleeping on the train that day.
yep, and then just like spits on the ground, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, I felt sad for him, and I was like, gross, both at the same time. And then another guy came on, and he's like getting on, and he sits down, and he smokes. He starts smoking. He immediately starts smoking. And I've got a tripod out. I'm recording you on the train. And then I just looked at him, and he looked at me, and then I was like, "You can't smoke on the train." And then he goes, "I'll do what I want." And I was like, "No, you're not." And then because that argument's not going to go anywhere. So then I buzzed
Conductor.
the conductor, and then the conductor. Now we're stopped. The train's stopped now, and the conductor doors just open. The conductor's like, "Yeah." And I said, "There's a person smoking on the train." And he goes, "You're not supposed to smoke on the train, sure." And then the guy goes, he's like, he's like, "I'm almost done though. I'm almost done." And I was like, "That's true. He is almost done. That's right." And he's like, "Well, sir, you can't smoke on the train though." And he was like, "I've got like 2 more tokes." And I was like, "It's true. He does have 2 more tokes." And then everybody else on the train was like very confused about this whole interaction. And then not only am I saying don't smoke on the train, but I'm also like supporting him. But it is de-escalating it at the same time. And then he puts it out, and I'm like, "All right." He put it out, and he goes, "All right." And then he smokes it again.
He picks it back up and goes
That's
again.
right. And I was
He's like, "There's a little more. There's
yep.
a little more."
I was like, "Wait, he's doing it again." And he goes, "So you can't smoke on the train?" He's like, "I just got like 1 more hit." And I was like, "It's true. It's almost gone." And he goes, "This is kind of expensive." I was like, "It probably is quite expensive." Eventually, he gets it finished. And then after that, we were having a conversation about how he stole 30 hats and 30 shirts.
Yeah, he stole a bunch of stuff.
And ran out. And I was saying he must be pretty fast. But that is a de-escalation. I mean, that could have escalated to. I mean, most people wouldn't have said anything in the first place. But
there's the avoidant behavior.
Right.
And this will happen a lot with madness, right? Where you see somebody having an extreme state where they're maybe speaking to themselves and gesturing and
right.
gyrating and moving around and they're doing their thing. Most people will just straight out avoid it.
Right.
Very few people will actually confront it unless it becomes dangerous.
I'll say when there were symptoms that I had, which would be considered pre-dementia symptoms. These symptoms were, I was getting lost in grocery stores a lot, these are not crazy grocery stores. This is just a normal-sized Chicago grocery store that I had been in multiple times. But I would get lost. It would feel like the aisles were moving almost, and then I would go down it, and I wouldn't know how to get back out of it, which is very strange because it's only an aisle. But in my brain, it wasn't just an aisle. It was a maze I couldn't escape. I would get paranoid and scared, and then I would leave my cart full of stuff to try and find the exit. And then I would find the exit, and I would be like, "Oh no, my cart!" And then I couldn't find the cart, and then I'm crying in the grocery store. This is the point where you have a grown man who doesn't look like he has anything going on. I'm wearing nice clothes. I'm usually well dressed, or at least I'm wearing normal person grocery store clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And people are just passing me. Nobody's saying like, "You okay?" No, people are ignoring me. And then I'm having to FaceTime somebody. I'm calling multiple people to FaceTime and then help me get out of the grocery store. And then there's some times where I've just left the grocery store and left the cart. I just was like, I abandoned ship. I was like, I found the exit. I can't go back in. Today is not a day for this. But it was always, I never one time other than me, I mean, I had to literally go up to people who worked at the grocery store asking for help, but nobody ever came up to me.
Yeah, I've never had anybody approach to help.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had to seek. But then the problem is too, I'm also at the point of I will not seek help
Right.
because it's been always a negative
Right.
physically.
Also that's even extra.
I'm a 6', 200+ pound male,
right.
and I'm getting attacked in a hospital. I can't imagine.
Right.
Other people just getting tossed around.
Right. And let me add, and yeah, they would get tossed around. I don't. All the symptoms are gone, by the way. I'll add that. Okay. Oh, I did want to mention that mental illness is not a personal moral failing. So you are not. Whether it doesn't matter whatever it is. It doesn't matter what symptom or whatever. It's not morally your fault. Let's just say, if we take it in a biomechanical sense, let's just say I'll take me as an example. I ate a lot of sugar. I ate a ton of processed food. I didn't get much sleep at all. I didn't eat because of the poor nutrition. I had not a lot of nutrients. I'm sure I was all inflamed. And so, in part, those issues compounding over years, really, I mean, because my first symptoms were when I was 13, 14. But those over years caused me as a little kid as a preteen, 13, 14, to get these symptoms. But was it my moral failing for me suddenly seeing things? No, I didn't. I was just eating cookies all the time and staying up late and eating TV dinners because that's what my dad got because he was working nights and he couldn't. That's what he could do to make sure that his son had food. And is that a personal moral failing on him? No, he's doing his best, and so was I. And so regardless of let's say somebody has anxiety, in part this is due to gut microbial populations that are in part due to your mother. Is it your mother's moral failing that she had less than stellar microbial system in her gut? No, the same thing. I mean, and this is part of why I'm making this series is to show that here are all these different things that we can do to help balance ourselves. But it's not a moral failing on the individual. So I just want you to, I will say that I take the symptoms almost I know that it can be a part of somebody, right? But I take them in a way as separate because a person's personality, let's say there's somebody who's very social, they're calm, and you get somebody who is very anxious and highly antisocial. Those are two very different personality traits. But that could be the same exact person 1 year apart or multiple years apart. So we change over time. You 5 years ago, 10 years ago is not the same you as now. And so I just want it to be clear that it's not a personal moral failing and that we are constantly changing and be open to change. So that's it.
And if anybody does feel like it's a moral failing, reach out to the Center for Med Culture.
That's true.
For real. I think that there's a community of people who are doing really, really critical work around empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
And it can feel so alone to think that my mental health, my mental illness, it's my thing, it's my journey, my inward sort of brain and all this, without realizing that there's a whole host of people who are along that ride and willing to guide and mentor through the difficulty of it. So for real, if anybody does find that they're stuck in the sense of moral failing or even trying to make sense of how this is integrated into the wholeness of human experience, reach out. We have resources, we have people, we have all kinds of ways of talking about it.
Yeah. And I'll say some people talk about they harness their mental illness to create more. And I'll say that as I became more balanced, I was able to create more because I wasn't going through a psychotic episode. And I had more focus. I didn't have brain fog. I could literally work at higher levels. The other nice thing was that I could remember it, but not be consumed by it. I could be like, oh, that is what it was like to feel absolutely horrible. But I don't, but then I can get out of it. That was the thing that was like nice. So,
Yeah, and it's certainly not the moral failing. Like you're saying, like eating the cookies. Like that's not like it's
right,
clearly not a moral failing.
right.
What is a moral failing is which cookies you choose to eat.
Oh,
If it's like the ones with raisins in them.
oh my God.
No, we're
I never ate those anyway, though, but sugar cookies all the way. Italian sugar cookies. Okay. Oh, what are your goals, if any? I'll say my goal. I'll say mine first. My goal was to. I was going through a pretty hard time, so I was trying to not have any of these hallucinations that were driving me absolutely insane, because otherwise I felt like I couldn't be alive anymore. That was my goal in 2023 in June, and then I started a protocol on July 1st, and then that was all gone like a year and a half. This is personally for me, everybody's different, but all that, I had reached the goal. I didn't think I was gonna. I thought I was gonna be dead, but I did. So that's why we're recording this right now. But what would your goal be?
Yeah, my goals are a bit different because I feel like I've come to terms with a lot of things in positive ways. So I'm not necessarily looking for the removal of some of these in any regard. So I'm quite honestly just a little bit along for the ride.
Okay.
I know I can be healthier.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what that looks like.
Great.
Other than I know how to watch my body and track it.
I love this goal.
And so I'm just sort of, I don't know what will change.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for specific changes. Other than I know, I mean, I'm human.
Everybody's
need different balance.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who it is. Everybody's got something that can be achieved, and also at the same time, things to feel grateful for as well. I mean, both at the same time. We have to. To me, I'm always going, okay, here's ways I could improve, and also here's how I appreciate where I am at now. And I think both things are important. So, all right. So to finalize, there's a protocol that I put together, which is just a very generic protocol. I have it on the Patreon. In the future, I may change it. There'll be a bunch of resources on that Patreon, which is patreon.com/MattGriffoHealth. Patreon.com/MattGriffoHealth. And so in phase 1, we have good sleep habit. Basically, you just look through these parts and see what things you do and don't want to do. And then different things that you can track. You'll see it on there, which is VO2 max, how much oxygen your body intakes, HRV. We already got the metrics and baselines for these. We got this a few weeks ago. What your HRV was, and we can review those later. But you're going to basically just increase some fiber sources, add some arginine, which is an amino acid. Take some high dose vitamin D3, and then bring it down to normal dose levels. And vitamin B3, vitamin C, 1 gram per day, EPA and DHA, 1 gram. These are all per day. Some multivitamin, just pick some multivitamin, whatever. There's a study that shows people just taking a multivitamin versus no multivitamin, and the people who just take a multivitamin did better. Simple. Magnesium, 400 milligrams in the form of glycinate, threonate, or anything other than magnesium oxide. Zinc, 50 to 100 milligrams. I'm thinking probably 100. Amino acids, creatine. what it's going to be is 20 grams week 1 and 2, then 15 grams. And you actually may probably start with 5 grams just to see how your tummy tolerates it, and then swing up to 20. But either way, once you get to 20, it'll be 20 grams for a week 1 and 2, 15 grams for 3 and 4, 10 grams week 5. And then I would stick to 10 or maybe 8. There's going to be more neurological benefits around the 7.5 to 10 gram mark comparatively to the 5, but the 5 is a standard good baseline. And then taurine helps a bunch of gut microbes they use it as a fuel source. So taurine at 3 grams per day. Glycine, this is at 10 grams, but you'd want to start it at a lower dose for like maybe 3 grams, and then to see anybody that would have liver problems, it would help their liver uh, heal, essentially.
Mhm.
I could say it that way. If they had high AST levels, if you know what blood labs are, AST that will help. Glycine will help lower the AST levels. Um, then lysine, another amino acid, and then arginine. There's a specific bacteria that's newly discovered called CAG170, and it's in low population to not even being able to be detected in unhealthy individuals, whether it's Crohn's, obesity, ulcerative colitis. And so CAG170 doesn't make its own arginine, and it needs arginine as a fuel source. Therefore, we're supplementing arginine so that you could also eat pumpkin seeds or foods that have arginine. Like, that's good too. But the dose level, we're trying to get to a higher level so that the fuel resources for CAG170 and the taxa underneath it can increase. And then we're going to combine that with a fiber source. So a simple one is just going to be psyllium husk. Could it be one of the like package combo fiber sources? Sure, whatever it is. But arginine and some fiber source is essentially the goal. And it would start at a fiber source of like 5-ish grams, equaling about 5 grams, and then trying to slowly titrate up to maybe 15 grams. And that might be spread over a day. I'm coming at you quick, but we'll be able to slow it down later. Krill oil, if you want, these are like whatever you want. If you're like, I don't want to take krill oil, then cool. But krill oil, the studies show that it increases lysophosphatidylcholine, LPC. It increases a bacteria called Bacteroides ovatus, and Bacteroides ovatus makes LPC. But in people that have dementia, Alzheimer's, or even schizophrenia, LPC is low. And what happens is the higher the LPC, it gets made in the gut, in the colon, goes up to the brain, and the glia cells, which are these little cells that are like a cleanup crew, they go in, and these microglia and astrocytes, which are the type of cells that go and do phagocytosis. They eat up and they gobble up toxic debris, and then they bring it through the lymphatic system, goes down here and goes into the lymphatic system, and then drains out our body. But if the glia cells, those microglia and astrocytes, aren't working so good, what's happening is that those glia cells are hyperactive, but they're not actually doing their job properly. So what would help them would be more LPC. So number one, krill oil has some of the highest levels of LPC. So number one, we're supplementing it so it's coming in quick. But the better thing would be to increase Bacteroides ovatus, the bacteria that creates LPC in the first place. Because then we would have our own constant creation of this, right? So the glucomannan powder is a powder that can increase that, but we're not going to currently do glucomannan powder. We'll just do the psyllium husk. And you could look at some other fiber sources and things like that. But glucomannan is one of the ones that is known within clinical study to increase Bacteroides ovatus. But it takes on 50 times its weight in water. It is not pleasant to drink it. It doesn't taste bad. It's just you got to like put it in the glass and you're going to drink it really quick and drink a lot of water. So we're gonna Maybe you add that later, but I think you'll be fine with just the psyllium husk and arginine. And I would imagine that it should still be affecting not only CAG170, that bacteria we want, but I would imagine it's also going to be affecting Bacteroides ovatus. But you can see Alzheimer's disease to control. You can see that control here has more Bacteroides ovatus, and Alzheimer's disease has less of it. And also the same thing in these graphs here. The purple is Alzheimer's disease, and you can see the control are green. So you can see the green there's more, and the Alzheimer's disease has less of it. Sweet little mice. And same here. You can see the control has more, B ovatus, and there's less. And for this study, this is actually looking at, I forgot how many weeks this was. It is probably, we could look at that later. And then we're going to look at herbal extracts. So now this particular graph I made for a formula called Shigella flexionary disruption formula, or as I like to call it, pathogen destroyer formula. And it's going to destabilize the cell membrane of all these pathogens. Those pathogens are the little shits that make it so that we feel bad, essentially. But we're not going to start with that because that's a really strong formula. We're going to start much lighter. And we're going to start with a formula I call Spicy Brain Drink. And boy, I like Spicy Brain Drink a lot. It's a really good one. It has inside of Spicy Brain Drink is ginkgo, ginger, propolis, olive leaf, turmeric, clove, and Ceylon cinnamon. You could use the powder Ceylon cinnamon, or you could use the extract. The extract is going to be a little stronger, so I go with the extract. And always go with ethanol carriers and not powder, because powders are going to be significantly lower as far as how it affects the cell membrane. So you really want to cause cell lysis, which is the destabilization of the cell membrane so that they explode and they die, or they neutralize, because some of them, even if they expel their plasma, some of them still could just be living inside you, but then at least you poop them out. So whichever way we're going to do it, however we expel them is the goal. But Spicy Brain Drink, that's the one that we're going to start you on. And you'll start at a lower dose because you could get what are called bacterial die-off symptoms. And bacterial die-off symptoms can feel like some people could get hives. Some people could get food poisoning feelings. Because of this drink, though, it's lighter. So, and you'll start at a lower dose. So you'll be able to feel it out for your body. And you may have no symptoms, or you may just feel that day a little bit more irritable. And then as you go through, you'll be like, oh, okay. And you'll be decreasing them, because when these extracts hit the cell membranes of these pathogens, they release toxins because they're fighting back. Because there's always a war inside of us. And so we're essentially, through our nutrient intake, we're trying to win the war, right? And so we're going to be thereby causing a change within the gastrointestinal system, especially within the colon, to increase those healthy bacteria. And then we talked about the fiber. Oh, you could also take banana powder and pineapple powder. Those are delicious. And it sounds much nicer, doesn't it? It is. It's like 14 days with a study showed that there was significant increase in multiple healthy bacterial strains from banana powder and pineapple powder, which, what a relief when I read that. And it's like, something that tastes good? Great. So that's really nice. Chicory root inulin powder is also a good one, and artichoke inulin powder are both good options. And chicory root is the one that I have for the night drink recipe, which you would take at night, and it tastes sweet, which is good. So it's not. There are some other fiber sources that can be more beneficial, but I like that it tastes sweet. So I think this is an important element. And then this is something that I do. You do whatever you want. Something I do every day is temperature contrast therapy. The reason I do it is because when I go into a hot shower and then go to complete cold, I'm making it so that my lymphatic system is draining toxins. So as my overnight, my lymphatic system is doing it, hopefully doing its job, and then it's hopefully removing the toxins, bringing it to my lymphatic system, and then my lymphatic system has no pump. So I have to do something. You don't have to do a cold. You could also just like do massage or use a dry brush or one of those things. But do something, even if you're just jogging. I don't know what you're doing, but something to move the toxins. You want to have toxin clearance, essentially. That's it. And then oral would be, there's a lot of oral bacteria that can be in different that can cause different symptoms. So for people that would have rheumatoid arthritis, for example, well, if if you're like, I've got rheumatoid arthritis, uh, do you floss often? Probably don't. Probably not. If you're really mad right now and you're like, I do floss often, then apologize. But but there's something going on in your mouth, and you gotta maybe do some coconut oil pulling or do something, because one of the sources of that can be in the mouth. But if it's not, if you're like, but my oral hygiene's so good, then it's in the gut. So those bacteria, the same bacteria at play, can be, I forget which one it is, but it's in the mouth or it's in the gut. So if you got pristine oral hygiene habits and your teeth are great and you have rheumatoid arthritis, there's other things that are downstream that are going on. So look toward that. But oral hygiene is really important. So teeth brushing, dental floss, tongue scraping, to get, I mean, you got a whole bacterial colony in here. You gotta get them out there. Then the night drink is the other one I was telling you about. Boom. This one, it's my favorite one. I made this because of Bree, because she wanted some kind of drink that helped her with sleep. And then me amidst making a formula, I realized, man, I love this. And it was just helped my sleep. And I was like, I'm gonna just take this all the time. And then I realized, because it tasted so good, other people really like taking it. And so now it's just a really solid option. So it's got 3 grams of glycine. The glycine helps people get a deeper sleep onset. Chamomile extract, very relaxing. Lavender extract, also very relaxing. Saffron extract. For the studies on saffron, you'll see that for SSRI clinical data, saffron can work very similarly, but with none of the side effects. So that's pretty cool. Plants. Ginger extract, and then chicory root powder. So that's that recipe. And to note, any of these, if you're taking any of these extracts, number one, start slow, because you do not want to have horrible die-off symptoms. I was testing what are my limits, and I think I probably took like 15 to 20 extracts, because I was like, what's the limit? Like, when do I get die-off symptoms? I was already getting die-off symptoms, but I was like, how bad can it get? This is me testing for myself. And then I threw up in front of an old woman outside, and that was a hard day. I was like, I am so sorry. She was like, oh, oh my gosh. Anyway, I never took that much ever again. I was taking these are like really light ones. The ones I was taking was like oil of oregano, clove, fenugreek. I think I was taking wormwood. I mean, I was going all in. Movement is going to be really important, because for movement, there's an acid that's in our muscles called quinolinic acid. In some people, quinolinic acid increases more than others. Now, we were designed to move. And so for anybody who's sedentary, this is more for like maybe running or resistance training, but we just got to move a bit through the day to use up the quinolinic acid. If we don't use that quinolinic acid, which is a neurotoxin, well, it's a neurotoxin. So so it's going to affect the mind. So I try and each day do something that's going to burn it. Even if I'm just doing like some air squats or moving some boxes or cleaning. I don't know what it is. It could be anything, but just to move a bit in a day. For heart rate variability, you'll see here this graph. For schizophrenia, we're we're at about 30, and then bipolar disorder, then these are averages from whatever for this study. This is like 27. PTSD was about 33-ish. I don't even know what MD. Major depressive disorder, 34-ish. And then healthy control is maybe 39. But you'll see, and that's in milliseconds here. And then but you'll see that will be correlated with, and it's not always. Can somebody have CPTSD who has, a really high HRV? Yeah, they definitely can. This is just saying here's averages. Every single person is unique, so we can't put everybody into one bank. It's just not how the body works. But we can at least look towards these large clinical studies and then see how these affect large populations, and then utilize that data. And I'm utilizing it mostly within plants to harness that within the body so that it can, essentially what's happening, especially with polyphenols, causing the cell to restructure itself from the inside. So unlike any synthetic drug, no synthetic drug can do this, at least not in 2026, but polyphenols actually have the ability to go into the cell, and this is based on recent clinical data, go into the cell and restructure it so that it is more oxidative stress resistant, it is more ultraviolet light resistant. Overall, it's more resistant. And so the polyphenols can do that. Can the synthetics do that? No, they can't do that. So to me, plants and us, we came up together in this biological world. So synthetic drugs are incredible because of the speed by which they can affect the person. But plants can affect people in ways that no other synthetic drug can, and help us to heal our body from its core. And then I think that's everything. Yeah. So we're gonna get you onto whatever thing you want to do, and see, from that, I explained all that, but you do you do whatever you want, and then we'll catch up next time.
Sounds good.
All right. Till next time.